All right. Welcome to the Maximum Edge Sports Wagering Show. My name is John Santucci. Call me Tooch. We're going to be talking college football championship. I got G-Dog with me.
What's up?
Good morning. Happy Saturday. We got college football championships rolling along. Everything going good for you? Good night last night?
No, it's 3-2. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't as good as it could have been.
Right. It was an okay night for me. I think it was 5-3. But we got some championship games today in college football with playoff bracket implications. First game we're going to be looking at is Baylor, Oklahoma State. And Baylor getting plus 6.5 points over under a 45.5. This game is at a neutral site. Baylor 10-2, Oklahoma State 11-1. Two of the top defenses in the country. How do you feel about Baylor, Oklahoma State? I know Jerry Bohannon might not play today, the quarterback for Baylor. Your thoughts?
I like Oklahoma State here. I definitely also looking at the under in this game.
Yeah.
I think with the defenses, the teams, obviously the point should be lower, or be low. But I think also that Oklahoma State just has a lot of momentum. They have a lot more implications. I mean, Baylor doesn't have a shot at the playoff, but if Oklahoma State wins and you get like a team like Alabama loses, or let's say Cincinnati loses, or both of them lose, I mean, all of a sudden you got Notre Dame and Oklahoma State in the mix, So It's like they control their own destiny. I think if they should win between about 8 and 10. So getting 6.5, I think, is a safe play, but we'll see.
Right. I like Oklahoma State as well. As far as the over and under, I lean under, but this line opened at 49.5. It's down to 45.5. Most of the value's been bet down. You're still on the under at 45.5. I don't like that number, but I still would lean under.
I like the under still.
All right. You heard it there. We're on Oklahoma State minus the points and the under. Oklahoma State, Baylor. Let's take a look at the Houston-Cincinnati game. Houston getting 10.5 points at Cincinnati. I know this game is not at a neutral site, so it is a road game for Houston. Houston 11-1, and Cincinnati 12-0. So we're getting a good matchup here. Houston, the number 21 team of the country. Cincinnati, the number 4 team, over under of 52.5. How are you leaning here for this one?
Definitely liking the 10.5. I don't see, the Bearcats are in their 3rd straight AAC championship this year. Obviously, there's nothing more important than this one, obviously, to defeat Houston. I think they're still in a position where they have to win and win convincingly. I think if they just barely beat Houston, that they may have a chance to get knocked out of that top 4, just because Notre Dame's sitting there with 1 loss. But, if Cincinnati, they're undefeated. So if they stay undefeated, that shouldn't change their spot whatsoever. So regardless if they win by 1 or if they win by 15, this is one of those games that doesn't make it that big of a difference. So I take back what I just said. But the more I think about it, but it's like, being 12-0, if they win this game, they'll solidify their spot in the CFB, which no team has had from outside of the group or the Power 5 since the inception of this current bowl format since 2014. So, right. It's a historical thing in that regard. So I think, there's a lot on the line. But, Houston, they lost their first game of the season and they've won 11 in a row now. So I think obviously that they have a ton of momentum as well. And this is going to be a real test for them. Everybody thought SMU was going to be a test for the Bearcats, but they beat them up pretty good. And then freaking Tulsa beat them their last week or whatever. I don't know what the hell. They all of a sudden fell apart in the second half last week. But regardless, so I just think that this is a good spot for the Bearcats to lock up their number 4 spot.
Right, well, both these teams have really good defenses. Cincinnati ranked number 8, Houston ranked number 6 overall in the country.
Houston's 10th in points per game.
Yeah.
And they allow 286 yards per contest, which is 6th. So, Bearcats are 8th in scoring.
Yep.
Total defense.
Yeah. Do you expect a lower scoring game than today? I mean, the over-under has been bet down from 55 to 52.5. As far as point total, are you leaning one way?
Let me see real quick.
So I would lean under here. Cincinnati games total's gone under in 5 of their last 6, but 6 of the last 9 for Houston have gone over.
I like the under here too.
I like the under here as well. I expect more of a defensive game. Teams tighten up for this championship game. But I'm telling you, give me 10.5 points in a championship. I know you're going to use the Utah-Oregon example last night. 10.5 points wouldn't have done me much good. But Cincinnati has not been a good cover team against the spread. They've had trouble covering big numbers. I'm not saying that that's going to happen today because obviously they're at home. They can, or at home they're 6-0 against the spread. So as far as the side, do you like Houston plus 10.5? Because I like a double.
I do like. I like that. It's granted last night the Utah Oregon was a different circumstances, obviously, but I think with this in this particular game, both teams are healthy. There's obviously Houston would love to show them, beat them, obviously, and derail their plans for the championship. So I think they'll be a good, solid effort. And I really don't think Cincinnati is like such a higher echelon team that they'll just blow them out, but you never know. We'll see.
Right. And I think that we have a dog of the day if we're both on this. We're both on Houston plus 10.5.
Yeah.
Dog of the day, Houston plus 10.5. Today, that's the maximum edge. Dog of the day, Houston plus 10.5. Hopefully that cashes for you, folks. Let's get on to the SEC championship. Everybody's want to be watching this one. You got Georgia minus 6.5 versus Alabama plus 6.5. Over under a 49.5. G-Dog, where this is the, ever since these teams were 1-2 beginning of the year, this is the matchup everybody's been waiting for. Alabama, not the same team as they have been in past seasons where they looked invincible. This season, not as invincible as past. They're having trouble covering spreads in a few. Alabama 11-1 this year, but 6-6 against the number. Georgia 12-0 and 8-4 against the spread. How are we leaning on the side for Georgia? Number 1 Georgia versus number 3 Alabama. Going to be a great game.
Yeah, I think 6.5. That's a lot of points, but you got Alabama, like you mentioned. They're not as strong as they have been in years past, in my opinion, either. They've struggled a bit this year. Obviously, A&M beat them outright. They struggled against Auburn last week. Granted, they're championship caliber team, and they still pulled out the victory against Auburn. But God, to go into 4 overtimes against a team like that and your rival, that's the whole thing with college football, is like it doesn't matter how great or good one team is over the other in a rivalry game. It just goes to show you. But I think it's the first time in 92 games that Alabama has not been favored in a game since October 2015. Actually, it's crazy. So, and the fact that they're nearly a touchdown underdog in this one, I just don't see them getting beat that bad. If not, they have to really win this game to keep their spot in the top 4. If they lose, they're out. Notre Dame or whoever is going to stop. Notre Dame's neutral this week, so you can't have. They've never had like a 2-loss team in the top 4. Everybody's talking about like, well, Ohio State might be able to slide in there, and like, no, it's like if Alabama loses or Cincinnati loses, they're out basically. So I think this has huge implications. Saban's just a fantastic coach. I think they match up well with Georgia. I mean, it's hard to gauge sometimes with college football because it's just like you have like a team like Georgia, they beat the shit out of Georgia Tech, like whoopee, Notre Dame put 55 on them. Like, who cares? It's like you act like, so they haven't really, in some of these games that they've dominated. I mean, it's like, who they played,
Right.
aside
for Georgia, you mean, right? Georgia hasn't played that.
Yeah, I mean,
many good teams.
Georgia played Clemson in the opener and they won 10-3, but all their other wins have been at least to, by 17 points because their defense, obviously. But
right. This season, Georgia versus the SEC have won games 321 points to 66 points this season versus SEC.
Well, yeah, but who do they play in the SEC?
Right, but when it comes to the SEC, they are dominant. So I'm taking.
They play Vanderbilt. I mean,
right.
like, who the hell is
Vanderbilt? They played Vanderbilt.
They don't play the same teams as Alabama does.
Right, Alabama played a tougher schedule. I'm going to agree there for sure. Alabama played the tougher schedule. Georgia really, they appear super strong with that defense. It's the number one defense in the NCAA. I'm taking you want the
Alabama in the points.
Alabama plus the points.
Definitely. Total wise, I think it might just be a shootout, so I'm staying away from that one.
All right.
If Georgia's defense shows up, then it'd be under. If they get into a shootout, it's going to go over. You have no idea which way it's going to go.
We got some comments in the chat room. We're talking Bama right now, and we got Fish here. Fish says he thinks Bama. He's with you on this. He thinks Bama will be ready. I have no idea. You think Bama will cover the spread and Georgia will win, Greg? Or do you see outright Alabama?
I don't even see, like, I might even think outright Alabama, but I don't know. We'll see. Average total yards for that, Georgia's 442 a game, and Alabama's 492 rush yards, 150 to 201 for Georgia. But then, passing yards, and Bryce Young is just, 100 yards more per game passing.
Well, both these teams,
it's the defense
top defenses in the.
But Saban's his top defensive coach too. I mean, it's like, yeah, they haven't been great necessarily in some spots on defense, but I think when it matters, they'll make it that way. I could see. I definitely like the 6.5. I mean, I could also see Alabama winning outright in this game.
Very nice. All right, that's a good contrarian. I know. 61% of the bets on Georgia, 70% of the money on Georgia. Is that what you're seeing too? Most of the money on Georgia today?
I'm sure they're on the bandwagon. Everybody wants to see Alabama lose. That's how it is.
I mean, you got to think Alabama. This is a must win for them.
I'm not seeing. I see 68% of the bets and 52% of the money on.
Okay, so Bama money is coming in. I have no idea right now. I don't know what I'm getting. Like you said, Georgia's played a softer schedule, and Alabama has struggled at times to cover the spread. So this would be a game that's more of a stay away for me.
The line opened at 4, is now moved up to 6.5. You're getting a lot of tickets, but I think a lot of people are luring people into. I think the bookies are luring Georgia guys in there.
Yeah, I mean,
the money doesnit's reflect the bet percentage.
Right, the opening line is more reflective of where they think the game will end up.
Yeah,
so it's a 4-point game. You want the points, 6.5.
Anywhere between 4 to 6.5 doesn't really matter. I mean, you have 6 in there, really, but it's not necessarily a key number.
Exactly.
You have 3, 4, and 7 are the key numbers, not 6.
Right.
So if it moves between 4 and 7, like, it doesn't make much of a difference. It's just the optics of it.
Right. All right. What do you say we move on to Michigan and Iowa?
I'm looking forward to this game. I like Michigan a lot in this game.
Big Ten championship.
11 is a lot, actually. It's 11 now.
Right. It is. So, 11 points right now. both teams excellent defenses. Iowa struggled offensively, in the early to middle part of the season. The Hawkeyes, though, recently they've hung 30 points on a couple teams, 2 or 3 teams these past few games.
I've watched several Iowa games, and I'm not like that impressed with them, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, we got all the way up to number 2, and then they lost to Purdue outright at home.
Yep.
They lost to some other scrub at homecoming. I mean, they didn't do what they needed to do when they needed to do it. And it's just like, but the thing is I like Michigan to win, but 11 points. I mean, everybody saw them beat up on Ohio State last week, but I mean, they're at home, 106,000 people.
Yeah.
They haven't won that game in like not only the 5 years that Harbaugh had been there, but it goes back to like 2006, I think, or some 2009. It's been a long time since they beat Ohio State. So it's like, beautiful conditions. It was so awesome watching the snow fall and everything. I mean, it's perfect football weather. And it was just like one of those just special things. And it's like, it's really hard for these kids, and you got to remember they're kids, to get all worked up and emotional and put in all this time, effort, and energy into beating their number one rival, and then have a championship game that they've never participated in, that letdown. It could be, it's a very emotional thing for, and they're kids, they're dealing with like 18, 19, 20-year-olds, people kind of forget that sometimes when watching college football or college sports in general. So, I don't really think they're going to fall off a lot, but to beat them by 2 touchdowns. But again, I've been watching Iowa, and I don't really find them that impressive. I just don't think that I haven't seen them really dominate. That Penn State game was great, but then Penn State fell off, and and it's that I really don't know that I think Iowa can hang.
Well, let's be honest. Iowa's all defense. Their offense is, not complex. They run the ball. They beat teams with defense. And 11 points, like you said, a lot of points. Do you think? I'll tell you. This game probably will come down to the first quarter, first half. If Michigan, Michigan comes out and scores 1 or 2 touchdowns, and Iowa is sitting at a field goal that's 14-3.
Yeah,
it's over. If Michigan can score the ball, it's Iowa that we're worried about scoring the ball. This number they want you to take Iowa plus the 11 points, but I think Michigan might be the play here.
Yeah.
It's 11. Michigan has a great defense, and their offense is good. Iowa can stop the run. Michigan runs the ball, but Michigan can also pass. They've got a talented
we have
quarterback.
13 already too. Let me see. I just saw the line update.
Let me see. Yep, 13.5 I'm showing right now. So that changes things a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
No difference between 11 and 13.
Yeah. Missed field goal here, or missed extra point, and 11 and 13.5, that could make a difference. But where are you leaning now? 13.5. I'm going to edit that real quick.
Let me see.
Goodness gracious. Over-under's at 43.5. I could see this game going over if Michigan starts rolling up some points, and in the second half,
most of the tickets are evenly split with most of the money on Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
So
they are expecting
kind of torn on that.
They're expecting maybe a lower scoring game. If 13.5 in a lower scoring game, you'd want to have those.
Here's I don't know how accurate this is. Hopefully, it's like usually pretty good, but on the under, 38% of the tickets and 84% of the money, and then
are on the under.
Total opened at 43.5 and is still at 43.5.
Right. So it hasn't moved.
Not one bit. So
you like the under then in this play?
If I had to pick something right this second, yeah.
Okay. I kind of
see. I could see a low scoring contest. Maybe
I could too.
To 10 or whatever.
Yeah, 21-10, 21-7, 21-3, 14-3. All right, so our stronger plays on the under for Michigan, Iowa. What do you say? Oh, we got another comment in the chat from here we go. We've got Fish is with us today. He likes the down angle for Michigan. I like the let down angle. Sorry, he likes the let down angle for Michigan. Michigan coming off a huge win. I can see that. Coming down, they're all fat.
That's
and
what I
happy.
mean. That emotional, thing. It's like it's hard, but Big Ten's tough, man. I mean, last week Minnesota beat Wisconsin and knocked them out of the championships. I mean, it's
Yeah, it ain't the prettiest football.
No,
but
it's just a lot of smash mouth run.
Smash mouth deep. Tough defenses. A lot of running the ball. Cold weather. But yeah, I like that angle too. I mean, 13.5 is, like we said, a damn lot of points. But
it's indoors at Lucas Oil Stadium. So
it's indoors in Indianapolis.
Weather's not a factor at all.
Yep, weather's not a factor.
But I mean, Michigan just dominates in terms of offensive yards, rush yards. I mean, they're double almost every statistic across the board. I mean, 225 yards per game rushing versus 121 for the Hawkeyes.
Yeah.
Average total yards, 450 a game versus 300 for the Hawkeyes. It's just, they have the defense, but I mean, also Iowa's quarterback situation. They got Padilla and Petrus.
Yep.
They're kind of back and forth in that. They're not settled necessarily on them. So.
Yep. The Michigan defense ranked 15th. Iowa defense ranked 13th. Both really strong defenses, which, again, we said the stronger plays the under. Full disclosure, I live in Iowa. I don't have much confidence in the Hawkeyes against Michigan, to tell you the truth. But Fish makes a good point.
So you're all like, give me 11 points in a championship game with Houston. So
yeah,
you don't say the same thing here.
Houston has an offense, Houston can score the football. The Hawkeyes do not score a lot of points. Although, like I said, the past few games they have scored some points. Looking back. Looking back with Iowa, they played at Nebraska, put up 28 points, won at Nebraska. They played Illinois. They hung 33 on Illinois. They suck too. Minnesota, they won 27. They hung 27 points on Minnesota. But then you go back a few weeks after that at Northwestern, they had trouble scoring the ball. They only scored 17.
Horrible this year.
Exactly. That's why I don't have a lot of confidence in the Hawkeyes.
Yeah.
The best game was on the road at Maryland. They hung 51 on the Terrapins. Maryland, not good either. So you said that they haven't when they had to step up, they hadn't done much. That was they lost at Wisconsin by 20. They lost at home to Purdue by 17.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. I lean Michigan. I just I know the Hawkeyes are going to try to place. If the Hawkeyes, their only chance is to get a defensive touchdown early.
Yeah.
And then you're saying, okay, I've got 13.5 points in my back pocket. Then you're looking at a closer game, a little tighter, lower scoring game. Those points will make a difference. But I mean, you can't count on Michigan. Doesn't turn the ball over a lot. So I'm leaning Michigan here. What do you say we give away a free play?
All right. Sounds good.
All right, our free play, college football, Oklahoma State minus 6.5. Are we okay with that play, Mr. G Dog?
Sounds good to me.
All right, so we will be back tomorrow talking NFL Sunday, and we will see you tomorrow. You may be filling in for Anthony if he's not feeling better. So you or Ladarius, and thanks again. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, 9:30 Central. Good night. Good luck today.
Good morning. Good night.
And I'm the team captain. He's the preview, and I'm the main attraction. Unstoppable, unconquerable, on top of the world, accomplishing the impossible. Unstoppable, unconquerable, on top of the world, accomplishing the impossible. Invincible hustle, mighty desire to conspire to transpire to